So, I mean, considering your very sort of deep experience in driving innovation, making things change in the right direction, what's your reaction to the latest IPCC reports?
Well, I think that someone who says, "Oh, what a surprise! I never realized," or whatever, was either a disbeliever or someone with his head in the sand. It is just a confirmation of what is happening, and I hope that and because that's also for innovation very important, that the sense of urgency now really sinks in, and that but it's going to be something where the more developed world develops technologies that will serve both the developed world and the less developed world. One needs to go down in the number of planets that we consume. The other ones have I think, a very legitimate demand to have a better life. Mm-hmm. It's nice if people in the rainforest in Congo emit very limited amounts of CO2, but they do have a legitimate case to say, well, but we want a bit more of the things you have. So we'll have to develop technologies for the whole planet. And not just saying, well, in Amsterdam, we found out something nice and we'll do it that way. And then we are safe.
Well, I think you hit on a very common, I wouldn't say excuse, but a very common response that we came across when we talked about, CIC is trying to mobilize people to make changes at the individual levels, at the organizational levels, whether it's on social media or in private. People would say, well, but if the biggest polluters don't change, then whatever we do won't make a difference. And that is kind of a bit of a handy excuse, if I may say.
Yeah, and that's the same argument that you can use to sell arms and to pollute. I'm polluting only a little bit, so if I don't pollute, no, I think that's a total fallacy.
Yeah. So one thing that we still do come across is at the very senior level, there's an element of not necessarily disbelief, it's almost disengagement. And they kind of feel, or a little bit of apathy, kind of like not wanting to care too much about it, because maybe because of the profit, maybe because of the people element, but it just, even at the very senior level, and I'm going to say something rather controversial, is, and these are very educated, very well exposed individuals. Yeah. A lot of them are at the board levels or non-execs. What would be your personal experience of engaging with them and, making them see the priority, put some priority to this conversation, you think?
Well, I think for the impact challenge, for the real naysayers, ignore them. There's no way that you can convince people who are totally passive about this. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that they're not passive about it, but they're in denial. If you look at really disruptive innovations, the organizations that were the victim of disruptive innovation were in total denial up to and beyond the moment that they collapsed. Nokia denied the value of, let's say, a new philosophy about the phone, where talking was only a minor thing, and you do a million other things with a handheld thing. Kodak developed an enormous amount of digital photography knowledge and never dare to exploit it. Because however big the writing on the wall, if you collectively agree that neglecting it is personally more acceptable than accepting it, nothing's going to move. So I would say the people who believe in their wooden ship, the steamboat, carrier pigeons for communication, but you can't do nothing about them. And I would ignore them, but perhaps point out well, I think surprisingly, or in any case, very special, that both the Dutch government and Royal Dutch Shell were successfully sued in court to change their ways. And those verdicts will be upheld. And so I think that before too long, I think it wouldn't be surprising to see investors going to court for boards not taking climate change seriously. And perhaps that's the kind of threat that would put things in perspective for the naysayers.
Yeah, we do also come across or have been advised that quite a few organizations, they had to change. Either their investors or their regulators or even their staff, they just vote with their feet and decided that's not the future. That's not what I see as part of the future.
Pressure can come from many directions, but unfortunately, I think it's very human to be very good at denial. Even if the ship is sinking, you might still deny that it's going to be so bad. It's only a temporary setback. And we see that very often with larger or more impactful innovation, and climate change is a very scary message. And so for people to be able to take that on board and continue their work and continue to develop their organization, it's also kind of leap of faith.
Given you have seen, all the innovations and the successful innovations, if I'm going to ask you, what about the upside? What would be the 2 or 3 big upsides that you would see, or you would like as, CIC to amplify so that people could also come on board for the positive reasons? What would they be?
Well, first of all, and I hope I've demonstrated in a couple of examples, there's no fundamental reason why you shouldn't be able to build something that meets people, profit, planet criteria in a very good way. So there's no fundamental reason why you should sacrifice your profit or sacrifice your existence as a company by doing things in a sustainable way. We need to do very, very big things. So there will be a lot of business out there if we're gonna make a dent in this problem. Okay, the ultimate goals or the ultimate ambitions are far away, but you can do a lot of things to get going. And I think setting ambitions from the top, because if you don't set ambitions from above, if it doesn't start at the top, it's going nowhere. So you have to embed it in the top of your organization. Everybody there that has to make decisions on, shall we do A or B? And A is substantially more sustainable than B, let's go for A. If that doesn't happen, then you're going nowhere. But also don't underestimate the power of the people that are part of your organization.
Mhm.
They see it at their level, they have ideas at their level. Just bringing those ideas together will set a lot in motion. And yeah, whether it goes for profit or for sustainability, success breeds success.
Mhm.
If it's working well and people, an organization makes strides, then all of a sudden everybody wants to be on board. Uh, Apart from governments that have to set the standards for all of us and increase the price of CO2. Because if you do that, it's very easy. Then it all boils down to profitability again. But someone needs to be so brave to say a ton of CO2 is going to cost you €1,000.
Mm.
That would liberate and kick off a lot of new innovation force.
Yeah. I like to always sort of conclude an interview and ask the alumni, what would be your personal message to the other alumni?
Ooh, well, go and innovate, because that is really fundamentally also the future of your organization. And whether you're talking about a school or a business or a not-for-profit organization, change is permanent. And it doesn't have to be as frightening as climate change, but your environment is changing. So do innovate, have an open eye for innovation. And I think in the case of climate change, it isn't, you can make it a lot less frightening than being on the outside and looking in.
Mm-hmm.
Participating and working on it, you'll see that a lot of possible. You can make amazing progress without eliminating your organization. So go for it, I would say.
Now that is really, really exciting, because when you said it's actually better to be inside so that you are part of it than being outside and watching everything just happening and unfolding and things seems a bit out of your control. That is kind of something I think a lot of organizations don't necessarily grasp, is it's
No.
actually it's better to be part of driving and making the changes than being kind of imposed upon when these changes are evolving and happening one way or the other.
Yeah, because if you wait until they're imposed, they'll only be cost.
Mm.
If you proactively go and meet and exceed what is expected from you, it'll be a business model.
Yeah. Great. It's a lot of amazing gems and wisdom that we should highlight and amplify. But thank you so much for your time. And I think these sharing of real life experience and learnings and all the lessons, successes and otherwise, it's make it a lot more compelling and a lot more practical. And we are pretty sure that a lot of the other alumni and audience would benefit from that, because that everyone likes to hear from those who have done it and done it well, and then hopefully they can also see there is a path to do it, and it's not the time to just keep thinking about it. And when you talked about the bicycle example, it's a little bit more personal for me, because I'm one of those who haven't yet managed to handle the bicycle. And so one of those that I need to get on with it before it's too late. So
well, then you can start with the tricycle. Then you can get used to the traffic and your vulnerability all in all on a bicycle, so you know how to position yourself, and then the next step you can do the balancing act.
Well, I'll think about that. Thank you for the recommendation.
Okay, well, my pleasure.
Thank you so
Super.
much for your time.
Thank you.